Welcome everyone to the 8th round of the Qatar Masters 2024. We have Arjun Erigaisi taking on his compatriot Karthikeyan Murali in this game. Arjun is half a point behind the leaders Shan Sargisyan and Andrei Esipenko, and Arjun is kind of in a must-win here if he wants to win this event and also lead the FIDE circuit. The players are ready and we are about to go. A shake of hands and Arjun now opens the game with 1d4. What is Karthikeyan's choice going to be? Karthikeyan is well known for his fantastic play at the last year of Qatar Masters. He beat Magnus Carlsen. So this is going to be quite an important game for Arjun. He plays c4, e6, and not going to be easy for the world number 4. Knight to f3 played. What is Karthikeyan going to choose now? Most likely he'll go d5. Yes, he plays the very solid move d5. And g3 leads to Catalan, but Arjun brings his knight out to c3. The queen's gambit declined and Karthikeyan goes for the move h6. This is like hyper-modern stuff. In a way, you are also stopping bishop g5. Arjun says, I'm going to go e3, and he hardly thinks, which means that he is in his preparation. Yes, he closes his bishop down, but on the other hand, he tries to open it up from the other side. He wants to put it on this long diagonal. And I think Arjun's plan is clear. I don't want an opening advantage. I just want a playable position with long-term chances for both sides, and that's going to help me because I am the higher rated player and I can try and outwit my opponent. So b6 played, and I believe a good move now is to put the bishop on d3. So this setup which we have here from white is a very typical one where the bishop on b2 is slightly looking at its own pawns but can really help when the knight jumps to e5. White simply castles it out now, and I believe Karthikeyan will get his knight to d7. Yes, that's exactly what he does. So black's position very solid. Maybe later you want c5 to come in, but Arjun now goes into a bit of a concrete mode. He first takes on d5. Taking back with the pawn seems natural. Takes back, and here couple of ways to play. One is rook c1, getting the rook on the semi-open file, or knight to e5, plonking the knight into the center. But Arjun goes queen c2. And the queen is pretty well placed on this diagonal, also on the c file. a6 is very useful, just taking into control the b5 square. And now the knight jumps into e5. A strong knight here. Maybe later f4 comes in, and Karthikeyan strikes in the center with the move c5. He plays bishop to f5, and you can see here a little bit of pressure brewing up. So he takes on d4. He takes d4. And let's see what he does next. He does go rook c8. A little bit of a curious move because now there is a pin here, but also the rook is fantastically placed here. So Arjun brings his queen up to d3. This queen can actually swing over to f3, g3 or h3. Can be great squares. Rook c7 is very useful to remove the rook from this pin. And now the knight goes to e2. So Arjun's idea is to reroute this knight, go to g3 or go to f4. And Karthikeyan improves his bishop. He's still not threatening to take because the bishop on b2. Now you see the use of the bishop. So the knight goes to g3 and Arjun has 30 extra minutes on the clock. So this will play an important role. I like rook e8. Now a big threat. Knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, rook takes. So Arjun goes rook e1, further reinforcing the knight on e5. And I love Karthikeyan's next move, knight f8. He moves his knight. He wants to maybe come on e6, keep the pressure on d4. Queen comes to f3. But now the rook is useful in defending here. The g6 is played to kick the bishop away. And Arjun simply comes back with his bishop to d3. So black's position does look a bit soft here, but I like how Karthikeyan is strengthening it. He goes h5, he's threatening h4 maybe. So Arjun goes h3 and stops any piece from coming to the g4 square as well. h4 played by Karthikeyan, and the knight goes back to f1. You can already see that black's position is slowly and steadily getting better. Karthikeyan has played brilliantly. He also uses his bishop to bolster the e4 square where his knight comes in, but knight to e3 played. Now an important move here would be f5, just strengthening this knight's position, but he goes f6, which is not perhaps the best move. Arjun comes back, and there's pressure on the f6 pawn because threat is to take and take on f6. You can play f5, but then I can take, knight h6, take this. The king is too exposed. So Karthikeyan goes king g7, but this gives up a pawn. Knight takes d5. Arjun, of course, very sharp. But look at this. Now, bishop takes d5. You want to be taking here. Bishop takes e4, so you're a pawn up. You can take here rook takes, and f5, which would get really crazy after rook e8. The position is something like, you know, maybe around equal here. But instead he goes bishop b4, and this is a mistake. Because I think he felt that the rook will move here, but Arjun comes up with bishop d5. It's for a reason that Arjun is such a world-class player, because he can understand at different points what is the value of every piece. Yes, he's going to here lose an exchange. You will see that black has 2 pieces, white has 3, 2 pieces and a rook. White has 3 pieces. But he realizes that his bishop on c6 and pawn to d5 will be extremely strong. He goes bishop e4, maybe not as accurate as bishop c6, but the idea is the same. And by the way, playing f5 is just bad because this king becomes too weak. So bishop d2 is a good move by Karthikeyan, because after d5 that opens up this bishop here. He wants to drop his bishop back to g5. So yes, the bishop comes back to g5, defending the f6 pawn, and there is pressure here from the white pieces. Queen comes to d3, now attacking g6 perhaps, also with the ideas of d6. The queen comes up, and really Karthikeyan is matching move for move for Arjun. Queen chops off the pawn on a6, but yes, knight d7 is another great move, because you now have everything defended. Queen comes back to f1. And I'm wondering what is Arjun doing here, but maybe he just wants to go to b1 and attack this pawn. He goes queen to f4. Maybe not the best. Maybe queen b4 was better. Maybe just king h7 so that you later want to push f5. But queen f4 has been played, attacking the bishop here on e4. And now queen to b1, he's attacking the g6 pawn. A knight goes to f8. And you go knight to e3. There was also a possibility to get the knight to h2 and then maybe to f3. But he went knight e3 and Karthikeyan goes rook e7. Bishop comes back to f3. There are possibilities to just sack here and try to play this position, but then you're a pawn down and you don't want to be doing that. So queen b4 looks logical. Queen a1 played here by Arjun, keeping up the pressure. Knight comes to d7. It's not easy to break through here as white, but Arjun never stops trying. He goes bishop c3. Queen comes back to c5. I believe you must go bishop d4 here, but instead he goes knight to c2, brings his knight back, and rook e8 played, because otherwise bishop b4 was quite a threat perhaps. So he goes back here. By the way, a very interesting move was bishop d2. Take, queen c2. And interestingly, that's equal. Rook e8. He goes knight d4. Now the knight is jumping in here to e6. So he goes back, tries to defend against it. Well, look at Arjun now. a4. He's like, look, Karthi, I have a bishop that's defending this. I have another bishop putting pressure here. A knight beautifully positioned. So I'm just going b4, a5. I'm creating a passer here. Knight jumps to c6. And now knight to d7. Defending the pawn. Bishop b4 is a very, very strong move. Now let's see if Arjun can find it. Because otherwise he maybe just wants to go bishop e5 and try to trade off a few pieces. So Arjun does find bishop b4. Now the queen is lacking a bit of squares, because if here then knight d4 again threatening knight e6. So he goes queen c1 check, offering a trade of queens. Arjun takes it. Bishop takes. And now you are exchanged down. But this next move is simply brilliant. Bishop e7, limiting the rook from moving. And now threatening b4, a5. So bishop comes to f4. It's time to start pushing your queenside pawns, is it? No, first d6. Because if you started with b4, there's knight e5. So he's very alert. He goes d6, defends the pawn. Rook c8 played. And Arjun very carefully goes b4. You shouldn't really move the knight, as it's checkmate here. So he goes b4. Rook a8 played, but this is dangerous. Now the rook is hanging here. In fact, this is a big, big error. Arjun, of course, sees it. You can see his eyes lighting up. He knows he's completely winning. Goes for knight d4. Great move. Attacking the rook and also threatening knight e6 check. He takes on d6 here, Karthikeyan. He feels like this might be the best way to wriggle out of this mess. But maybe it's not enough. Yes, you now have equal pawns on the board, but white has two pieces for the rook, and those two pieces are just ultra strong. He starts bringing the king into the game. King f1. Knight to e5. And now he takes bishop e5. So Arjun seeking clarity here. And I think he is going to get it. He understands how to win this. So firstly, now the knight is hanging. The pawn on b4 is also hanging. So he first gets it to c2. And if you try to attack the knight this way, I'll just put it on e4. This defends this, this defends this. I put f3, this defends this. It's all very secure. So king f8. And now the king comes to e2. So Arjun has absolutely no problems here. He has a phenomenal position with great stability. King e7. And king comes up to d3. He comes up, king to d6. And bishop e4. A useful move. Looking here. Looking here. g5 played here by Karthikeyan. And he goes king c4. Look at how step by step each of white's pieces are just improving, while black can do nothing at all in this position. Yes, but how do you win is a good question, because somewhere you have to start moving your knight when the f2 pawn hangs. So king b3 first. I believe Arjun has spotted the way. Rook a7. I'm not sure. Maybe knight e1, knight f3 could be one way. He goes knight to a3. He's actually coming here to c4 to attack b6 and e5. So rook comes to f7. And Karthikeyan is hoping for some counterplay, but Arjun kills it with f3. Now the G2 point is a bit weak, a bit soft, but how to enter it? From where to attack it? King C7 played, and he's in knight C4, just going to drop here, the pawn. Yes, Arjun plays his knight to C3, great move here by him. And rook to D7. Maybe if you take on E5, he wants to go rook D2 to attack this pawn. So Arjun first comes king C3, stopping the entry. And if rook D1, then knight E5. If you go rook G1, I have at least F4 takes. Now the bishop controls here, and knight G6, which is winning. But Karthikeyan goes for the passive defense with rook E7. Such a move can never really work when you are so worse. And Arjun simply pushes his pawn to B5. Rook to E8 played. And after drinking water, he goes bishop C6, attacking the rook. The idea is king D3, king E4. King is coming in and everything's going to just completely fall apart. Karthikeyan Murali knows that he has tried enough. It's a loss for him. Arjun Erigaisi scores a win. On the top board, we had Shant Sargsyan losing to Andrei Esipenko, which means Esipenko is now the sole leader with 7 points. Arjun is on 6.5. And he will face Esipenko in the last round with the white pieces, which sets up an amazing finale. If Arjun wins the last round, he wins Qatar Masters and leads the FIDE circuit. What a day it will be.